I don't know. Good question. Okay, everybody, welcome. Good morning. You of Sarasota, please rise and body and or spirit for our hymn, Wake Now My Senses.
Good morning and welcome. My name is Klaus Obermeit. I serve this congregation by working with our dedicated worship, multimedia, and website teams. We want to extend a warm welcome to our visitors, both on campus and over live streaming, joining us through one of these 3 cameras. We encourage our visitors to participate in any of our events. We welcome visitors to find out more about us and Unitarian Universalism by going to our website at uusrq.org, clicking on the links displayed, and registering on our virtual guest book. If you are in person, there is a sign-up sheet for visitors at the welcome table. If you sign up, we will send you our weekly newsletter and Zoom links to our virtual events. We also invite you to join us for coffee and conversation after the service. We look forward to getting to know each other. A couple of special announcements. At the top of your little insert, there's information about new soul group forming. Are you interested in being part of a group that explores the mystical and metaphysical? Have an interest in past lives and reincarnation? What about karma? Stop by the Read Room at noon and find out more. And sitting among us, oh, by the way, I got this little sticker today. It says, I met a clown today. And sitting among us toward the back are the Tidewell Caring Clowns who did a presentation in the forum today. Would the clowns in the congregation please stand up and be recognized? That's Toons, Lazy Lizzie, and Butterfly. Our guest musician this morning is Elle, so Don Bryn will fill in. The names of the hymns of the songs are the same, except the first one, which is Star Wars Cantina Band theme.
So, real quick before I play that, I just want to invite you all. I know that you have heard this before, but you never know. There might be people who have not heard this before, that we start choir this week, and you are all invited. If you have an interest in singing, can carry a tune, you do not have to read music. We want every voice to be heard, so come on out, join us Wednesday night, 7 o'clock. All you need to do is show up. We'll get you some music, some words, and we'll go from there. So it's a fun time, and yes, I'm going to play the Cantina Band.
Consider the words of Joseph Campbell, the hero with 1,000 faces. Throughout the inhabited world, in all times and under every circumstance, myths of humans have flourished, and they have been the living inspiration of whatever else may have appeared out of the activities of human body and mind. It would not be too much to say that myth is the secret opening through which the inexhaustible energies of the cosmos pour into the human cultural manifestation. Religions, philosophies, arts, the social forms of primitive and historic humans, prime discoveries in science and technology, the very dreams that blister sleep boil up from the basic magic ring of myth. And now, as we light the chalice, please join me in affirming our value of transformation, which is printed in your order of service and displayed on the screen behind me. We adapt to the changing world. We come to collectively transform and grow spiritually and ethically. Openness to change is fundamental to our Unitarian and Universalist heritages, never complete and never perfect.
Come over here a little bit. So today I've asked a friend to join me to tell you his story. See if he'll stay there. Unfortunately, he has already lost his voice from teaching young students these past 3 weeks. So I will be relaying his words to you. So today's story is A Jedi You Will Be, written by Pretty Chipper and illustrated by Mike Dees. Hello, youngling. Yes, see you I do. Why are you here? Follow him, did you? Know who that is? Yes, a great Jedi Luke Skywalker will become. A Jedi too, you wish to be? Help you I can. Come, Come, eat first we must. Strength you will need. Why a Jedi you wish to be? Adventure you want? Excitement you seek? A Jedi craves not these things. Ready are you? What know you of ready? For 800 years have I trained Jedi. Easy it is not. A Jedi must have the deepest commitment. Willing to work hard, are you? Too big, are you? Too small? Right you are. Size matters not. Finish, will you, what you began? Scary things there are, mean things. Fear is the path to the dark side. Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering. Face your greatest fears you must, just as Skywalker does. Brave can you be? Calm can you stay? You will know the good from the bad when you are at peace. Now close your eyes. Closed are they? See you peeking, I do. Now breathe. Reach out. A Jedi's strength flows from the Force, and a powerful ally it is. Feel it, do you? Life creates it, makes it grow. Its energy surrounds us and binds us. You must feel the Force surround you, between you and me, the tree, the rock, everywhere. A Jedi uses the Force for knowledge and defense, never for attack. After all, wars not make one great. And as they seem, things are not always are. Important strength is, but weakness too. And failure, part of the journey they are. Believe in Skywalker, you and I do, but not yet does Skywalker believe in himself. Perhaps together we can show what is possible. Reach out. Feel the Force. Do or do not, there is no try. Do it, you can. Before you, your path lies. Hard choices there will be. Off to face his greatest challenge, Skywalker is, as all Jedi must. But wiser he will emerge, as you will, in whatever you may face, as long as you mind what you have learned. A Jedi you will be. May the Force be with you. So thank you, Yoda, for your very wise words, words that we can all learn from and words we can all embrace, because all is connected and each of us has what it takes to make this world better. The Force is in you and all around you. So may the Force always be with you as you journey in life. I now invite any children and youth to join me and Yoda in the West Wing for more fun Star Wars. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Reverend J. Wolin, the settled minister here at the Unitarian Universalists of Sarasota, and it is great to be with you this morning. Our centering words are something I wrote. A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away. I didn't write those words, but yeah. People had hope for a new way of being. We learn these new ways through imagining what is not yet in existence. Stories teach us who we are and how to be, to lead us in the direction of our imagining. The story we tell has been told, remodeled, and retold again and again. And the story is never finished. And we do not know how it ends, or even if it ends. But the story can guide us. You do not have to be the hero of anything, or perhaps we need to imagine a new understanding of what a hero is. Perhaps a hero is someone who is authentically themselves, connects to community with compassion in service to others. Spirit of life, spirit of love, let us be open to the imaginings that you are the energy moving through the universe and through us in all that we do. As we go into a time of silence now, I invite you to contemplate what imaginings you wish to bring into existence. Well, I'm going to say it's always a humbling thing when you realize that the rest of the universe does not have the same experiences of the world as you do. And I that became very aware when I put out a Facebook poll asking how many people have seen the Star Wars movies and rate their knowledge on it. And so I found there are many people who have, some never even seen the Star Wars movies. And so I have included in your order of service a cheat sheet about who some of the main characters are, both the teachers as well as the list of Jedi as well and other main characters. So you can follow along easier that way. But because of that, I want to just offer you first an overarching background of the movies. And yes, there will be spoilers. They've been out for now 50 years, the first one, so you've had your opportunity. But if you don't want the spoilers, now is the time to leave. So, Star Wars is a sprawling story told across many movies and television series and animated series. And at the center is a democratic, somebody left, no, is a democratic republic that becomes an empire. There's a rebellion struggling against the empire and a spiritual energy called the Force. You heard some about it in the Words for All Ages. Anakin Skywalker, a gifted Jedi, a child prodigy, is seduced as he gets older by the power of the dark side of the Force and becomes the Sith Lord Darth Vader. His hidden children, Luke and Leia, help lead the struggle against the Empire. And Luke is guided by Obi-Wan Kenobi and Yoda. Leia becomes a rebel leader and then a general of the resistance. And later, Leia and Han's son, Han is a swashbuckling smuggler who then joins the rebellion. And they have a son, Ben, who is turned to the dark side and becomes Kylo Ren. And again, repeats ongoing the struggle between good and evil. While Rey, who it turns out is the Emperor's granddaughter, discovers her own connection to the Force and then eventually connects up and hooks up with Kylo Ren. You have to go see that to see the end. Okay. So anyway, fans speak of which stories are canon in the Star Wars universe. And I do mean that in the religious sense. There is actually a religion, Jediism, and the Temple of the Jedi Order that tries to live by the teachings from the movies. So that is enough Star Wars history for you to travel with me this morning, hopefully. So you can look at the inserts for details as we go along. Now, the Star Wars movies, I'm going to admit, they have their faults. Some really bad overacting, particularly early on. There's definitely a patriarchal streak, racial tokenism and stereotyping, particularly in the first 6 movies, as well as an anti-Semitic character in the prequels. The movie is titled Star Wars, and there were a lot of wars and destructions in it as well. A question of just war theory plays out throughout. There is a clear good, the rebels and the Jedi who use their powers to help others, and a clear evil, an empire led by the Siths that destroys worlds that will not bend to their will. Now, it's very funny. You can read online, I know I shouldn't do this, but you go online, there are all these stories that talk about the rebels as these religious fanatics who are overthrowing, the organized government and, comparing it to ISIS. It's very, very interesting. But I don't have time to go into that now. But even the Jedi, though, I'm talking about the just war theory, right? In the earlier chronological movies, lead armies against planets that did not want to join the Republic. And I will say this, though, since 2024, the prequels and their vision of a democracy sliding into fascism have seemed a great deal more prescient than when I first saw those movies. Now, the overarching narrative about how we govern ourselves individually and as a community, the question of good versus evil, and the concept of the Force were powerful draws for me, particularly earlier in my life. When the first Star Wars movie came out, I had graduated high school just a year earlier and moved from the Bronx to Manhattan. I was trying to figure out my life. Similarly, in the movie, Luke Skywalker, a young man on a desert planet, longed for more, and with a mentor's help, he began an adventure of self-discovery to fulfill his destiny. I related to that. I wanted a destiny. I wanted an adventure. And boy, did I get one. Be careful what you wish for. It is also important to understand the context in which this first film trio of movies was written. It was the end of the Vietnam War, and we can see in Star Wars the story of an overwhelming mechanized force of the American Empire attacking small indigenous populations living in the hills of North Vietnam. So in this vision and this story, we are the empire, right? We also experienced at that time the resignation of the President of the United States, an economic recession, long lines for gas, 18% mortgage interest rates, and people were downtrodden. They were. This first movie was entitled A New Hope, and I think was created just for the purpose to give people a new hope, right? It was part fable with knights, part moral tale, and part monomyth. The hero's journey is written about by Joseph Campbell. Writer and director George Lucas himself says, I wanted to make a kids' film that would strengthen contemporary mythology and introduce a basic morality. Somebody has to tell young people what we think is a good person. I mean, we should be doing it all the time. That is what a good person is. This is who we aspire to be. You need that in society. It is a basic job of mythology, end quote. What drew me most to the movies, though, were the spiritual themes, echoes of Taoism, Confucianism, Buddhism, Christianity, and Unitarian Universalism. Star Wars borrows the Taoist language of balance, but yin and yang are complementary forces, and the movie combines an Eastern image of balance with a more Western dualistic struggle of good and evil. Taoism has a phrase, wu wei, which translates to something like cultivating effortlessness. And in one famous scene, which they showed a bit there, Luke is, in the story, Luke is trying to lift something with his mind. And he says in a very whiny voice, okay, I'll try. And Yoda sternly says, no, do or do not. There is no try. Now, Luke isn't lacking strength. He is lacking trust, right? Try is the sound of a person already braced for failure. Wu wei is what happens when you stop straining against the current, right? And you trust the flow and you let the flow move through you. Star Wars also echoes Confucianism. Confucianism's emphasis on virtue, self-improvement, and responsibility to society connect with Star Wars. Family matters in both, right? The family of our birth, as well as the family where we find acceptance. The Jedi have a similarity to Buddhism, probably more than other religions. Qui-Gon Jinn, who was Obi-Wan's teacher, and Lord Dooku's teacher, tells the boy Anakin, always remember, your focus determines your reality. And later he tells his student Obi-Wan, don't center on your anxieties. Keep your concentration in the here and now, where it belongs. Very, very Buddhist thoughts that I've heard many times at retreats. Star Wars also portrays the Force in the dualistic mode of Zoroastrianism, of good and evil. It is unfortunate, I have to admit, that it continues our cultural connotation of darkness with evil, right? But it also makes clear that the darkness is a part and comes from the Force. There is one source of power in the universe, and that is where partially I see Unitarian Universalism's aspect of the Force, the oneness of all things. Now, the Force in and of itself is not good or bad. It is just energy that can be used for good or evil. As we heard before, Yoda said, fear. Fear is the path to the dark side. Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering. And again, bringing us back to Buddhism, Buddhism focuses on how to alleviate suffering. So at the same time that the Force is dualistic, it does not define absolute truth. In fact, Obi-Wan says only a Sith deals in absolutes. It is a recognition of the limitations of anyone's knowledge of the good and our inability to understand all the outcomes of our actions in advance, which is another Buddhist philosophy of not having attachments to outcomes, because that will lead to striving and that will lead to suffering. So the dark side of the Force is interested in power for power's sake, and will use deception to achieve it. In his manipulation of Anakin Skywalker to the dark side, Emperor Palpatine says good is a point of view, and tries to convince Anakin that the Jedi are the same as the Sith, just trying to accumulate and maintain power. Now, where have we heard that before recently, about alternate truths? The Jedi served the Republic for thousands of years, but they did become arrogant and blind to the danger that the Sith presented. At their best, they used their gift to serve others, especially those threatened by power. We too, at times, can fail to or be slow to recognize danger. Still, we work for those most vulnerable in our society through our presence, through our programs, and through our shared offering. So we now take this morning's offering in continuance of our work for the good. Please be as generous as you can as we take our offering. For those online, there's a link to donate in the description of the YouTube video. For those here with a cell phone, there's a QR code in the order of service and on the screen behind me. Let this sacred time begin. Our next reading is from a book, The Myth Awakens, which is sort of a critique a bit of the Joseph Campbell model, and as well as some of the Star Wars issues. And this excerpt is from the chapter Heroism, Gender, and Fan Appreciation. It behooves us to consider that there are more ways to be a hero than Campbell suggests. Storytelling is a method of naming the possible. While stories may not be literally true, they can become true through the operationalization of the ideas into real-life scenarios. To be more clear, thankfully, stories speak truth. If all the stories we tell say one thing, we believe it to be true. Now, this can be limiting to imagination as well as social and cultural interactions. However, when stories tell of breaches in limiting, rigid, and oppressive social structures, they can lead to emancipation and empowerment. After all, these fictional characters that little girls look up to may one day shape the type of women they are determined to be. Leia is a woman of power. Though we first meet her as a young woman, she already has a political position, both on her home of Alderaan and in the Rebel Alliance. She is heroic in her leadership position and her determination to work within a group for the betterment of all of the peoples of the galaxy. If you have always heard the story about the warrior or the leader as he, hearing it told as she can be profoundly disruptive and empowering. The story speaks a truth. It makes something possible in the cultural imagination. Okay, so before I go into my second reflection, as an aside, I do want to say my favorite of the Star Wars movies is Rogue One, and I highly recommend the TV series Andor. It is probably one of my top 5 television series of all time, which is part of the Star Wars universe, but not necessarily connected to the movies. Anyway, moving on. Although we tend to see the Force as an Eastern religious phenomenon, there is much Christian faith woven into the Star Wars universe. Just the phrase, "May the Force be with you," right, is an echo of the Catholic, "May the Lord be with you," right? Which is always responded with, and with you, right? Anyway, as well, Obi-Wan says to Luke, remember, the Force will be with you always, reflecting Jesus' comforting of the disciples in the Gospel of Matthew when he says, and remember, I am with you always. Anakin Walker, Luke's father, who becomes Darth Vader in the story, was born of a virgin birth, similar to the Christian story of the birth of Jesus. And similar to Christian stories of Jesus being tempted by Satan, temptation runs through the Star Wars movies. Anakin is tempted by the promise of protecting his family and is offered power to do that. Luke is also tempted by the promise of power to rule the galaxy and then the power to save his friends. The choices we make matter. The justification of bad actions with good intention and how that can lead us to the dark side is one that is raised by this movie over and over again. And redemption through sacrifice is a very Christian theme that finds its way into Star Wars. Obi-Wan tells Luke that he will have to face Darth Vader, to which Luke replies, I cannot kill my father. And Obi-Wan replies, and the Emperor has already won. Even the experienced Jedi could only see a dualistic approach, kill or be killed. It is through Luke's willingness to see a third way, to see the humanity still in his father, and Luke's willingness to suffer at the hands of the Emperor, that awakened the humanity within Darth Vader. And Vader turns away from the dark side of the Force and is redeemed when he kills the Emperor to save his son Luke. Now, with such a redemption theology, we do have to ask, does a deathbed redemption or one good act change all of the carnage and destruction that happens before it? That is something each of us must answer for ourselves. But I believe that it is better to start with good acts as soon as you can, not to balance the scales, but just for the sake of doing the good thing. What do you believe in that you would be willing to sacrifice for? In fact, the concept of sacrifice for the greater good, which was a theme of Jesus, is a common ongoing theme within the Star Wars movies. Obi-Wan sacrifices himself to save Luke. Han risks his life to save Luke from the Wampa monster. In The Last Jedi, Vice Admiral Holdo gives her life so that the last of the resistance can escape. Luke risks his life to save his friends. In fact, I just want to point out that's a really interesting aspect of the movie. While training with Yoda, Luke senses that his friends are in danger, and Yoda tells him, if you leave now, help them you could, but you would destroy all for which they have fought and suffered. Decide you must how to serve them best, end quote. And then Luke decides to go, and Yoda says sternly, you must not go. You must finish your training. So he hands his student freedom, and then when he doesn't like the decision the student made, he tries to take it back. Right? It's hard to let the student, or even think about our children or grandchildren, it's hard to let them go and make decisions for themselves. Luke chooses to go, and it costs him a lot. It costs him his hand and every illusion that he had about his father, Darth Vader. Yoda was right about the consequences. He didn't help his friend. Matter of fact, his friends had to save him. Sometimes people cannot be told. Sometimes they must or we must learn lessons for ourselves. And so, I just think that is an important point that we need to focus on, that sometimes teachers have to let go, and people have to engage and learn those experiences themselves. Anakin, part of the story, though, it is through those struggles that people are transformed, that they change. Right? Anakin goes from being a savior to becoming Darth Vader, and at the end, he turns again to love. Luke grows from a restless farm boy into a hero. He actually does go back for his training. And then he becomes a disillusioned exile. And then finally, he becomes a teacher again. We go through these flows and ebbs in life. Hans grows from a self-interested smuggler into someone willing to risk himself for others. Ben Solo transforms from a Jedi to the dark side, and then away from the dark side for love, for Rey. These changes do not erase the harm caused along the way, but it reminds us that no one is frozen in a single identity or by a single decision that they make. We are all capable of transformation. For some, it takes a moment, for others, a lifetime. The question is, do we want to transform, right? Or at least be open to the possibility of transformation. And for what purpose do we want to be changed? Whose goals are we trying to serve? Self-serving goals or serving others? It is hard to say today how we will be transformed, both individually and as a congregation, by the events of our times. We as a congregation have a vision for the future, but as Master Yoda says, difficult to see, always in motion is the future. So we must be adaptable. And at times, we will fail, both individually and congregationally. Even Yoda has grown from his early rigid teachings by the end of the movie series. As he says to Luke in The Last Jedi, and I quote, "Heeded my words not, dig you? Pass on what you have learned. Strength, mastery, but weakness, folly, failure also. Yes, failure most of all. The greatest teacher failure is, Luke, we are what they grow beyond," end quote. And failure is a teacher only if we learn from it. So let us learn. Let us not hold back. Let us share our wisdom as it is, but let those who come after us or new to us build on the world as it is, not as it was. Let us not destroy them by holding on to how it was. Let us use the force, that energy connecting and transforming all things. Let us transform into something better. That is the Jedi way. As our principles and values say, we are part of the interdependent web of existence. And to adapt a saying from Vice Admiral Holdo, we are the spark that lights the fire that will restore humanity to what we were meant to be, a beloved community, the spark that is the Unitarian Universalists of Sarasota must thrive so we may live into our vision of being a multicultural, multi-generational congregation. So tell your friends, tell your neighbors of a new hope for humanity, to create a new kind of society where all are valued for who they are. I don't know how long it is going to take or how we will get there, but we are all in it together. May the force be with us. And now please rise in body and or spirit for our closing hymn, When Our Heart is in a Holy Place. Please join me now in extinguishing our chalice. We extinguish this flame. Truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Thank you all for your presence here. May the force be with you, and may you share it with others. Thank you. Thank you.